Hey everybody, I hope you are enjoying this glorious day. As I'm sitting here, the sun is coming out from behind a tree and coming right in my face, but it is a beautiful, beautiful evening. I had various things in here which were, I put in the March Madness of various kinds category because, among other things, this weekend, yesterday featured at my house snow, sleet, and rain, and apparently in some others around here also hail. While today was one of those just spectacular days that I think hit into the 60s. So on other kinds, of course, I think several of us have been watching a little basketball this weekend, cheering on UConn. Sadly, the UConn women lost to Ohio State. Growing up in Ohio, I got a lot of questions from people. So who are you rooting for, a UConn or Ohio State? Let me be clear, it was UConn, although I do have a little fondness for Ohio State as well. And the other March Madness that I wanted to just note is that Region 20, which is the new merged regional school between Wamogo and Litchfield, is also having its own Mascot Madness tournament, so to speak, in which the kids and the community is voting on suggested many mascots, and they're proceeding through that. I think they've reached their Elite 8, which are now getting voted on this weekend. The North bracket is the Ravens versus Wolves, South, Bobcats versus Eagles, East, Falcons versus Hawks, West, Cougars versus Mountain Lions. So we got a lot of beasts of the wild around on that thing, which was really fun. And I got to discuss that with some Wamogo students who came to the Capitol this week. So another kind of March Madness. This week, one of the reasons why I got to visit with the students from Wamogo is that it was Ag Day in the Capitol last week, which is something we haven't done for the last few years because of the pandemic. But we had all kinds of agriculture at the Capitol. They are famous for giving out wonderful little gift bags that have a flower, some maple syrup, some eggs sometimes, and lots of great vendors. Got to connect with all kinds of people from the Northwest corner, which made a great impact there, including two groups of FFA students from Wamogo and from Houstonic Valley. So it was really, really fun to see both of those groups there doing lots of advocacy, not only on an education bill, which will provide stable funding for ag ed programs, but also issues relating to Sharon Hospital and other local issues. So it was really always a pleasure to talk to those students who are such good advocates and ambassadors for their program, for their school, and for our community. I also, let's see, we had the final environment committee meeting, and those final committee meetings before their deadlines can be a little lengthy because sometimes the most controversial proposals get put off to that final meeting because they're still working on them and trying to usually it's because they're trying to build more consensus and more support and figure out what does have support. And so we had a long list of big bills in the Environment Committee on Friday. One was the governor's proposal for waste management, which is ambitious. The one but I think really quite positive. We did pass down a different version of the bill. It's quite complex, but the bill originally had a fee for towns that had to ship their garbage out of state, and we unfortunately are a region that has to do that right now. We have no choice because of the closure of a waste to energy facility that we used to use. So I did, and others advocated to get that pulled out of the bill, and it was. So that one, it will be a work in progress, but it did pass out of the committee. Two other bills that I know are of great interest, particularly to the Northwest corner. One was the bear bill. We did pass a bill out of committee on Friday that did not, the original bill did have a very limited hunt in it. The one we passed out of committee did not include a bear hunt. It did include a ban on intentional feeding, some clarity on your ability to defend yourself from a bear, which all of us were kind of surprised that we needed that, but there are enough people that are concerned about that we do need to, make sure it's quite clear. And also improved ability for farmers to take nuisance wildlife and to get a permit from DEEP to do so if they're experiencing crop devastation or threats to livestock. And I think we've improved that. And I think that in particular was a big step forward because it's taken a while to make it clear to other lawmakers the extent of damage that a bear can cause to local farms. And I thank many of you who have helped me make that case to my colleagues, and I'm really glad that we were able to pass that bill out. Of course, that's just getting it out of committee. Now we have to see if we can get it raised. It's a Senate bill, so it first has to get raised in the Senate and then in the House. So we are not done yet, but we did pass it out. The second was it was a bill that would allow Sunday hunting. Also heard from a lot of you on that, pro and con. I'm actually not sure whether it made it out of committee because the vote was very close. I think it did, but it was a very limited bill. So after much back and forth, we limited the bill to Sunday hunting on private land only. And also, limits on what can be used to do that. So I'd voted for the bill, to be clear. I heard from a lot of you on both sides of the issue, and I really appreciate that. I'm not a hunter myself, but I've had family members who are, and I know it is a tradition and a means to feed a family here. So I really appreciate hearing from the firsthand perspective from many of you. And I want to emphasize that in our district, this is not a partisan issue. I heard from people pro and con across the political spectrum. It didn't really map on partisan lines. So I'm going to handicap this one and say that that's a very unlikely bill to pass. But we did have a vote. Then just a couple of big picture things. It's Tick Bite Prevention Week this week. That will come as no surprise to anyone who lives out where we do, that the ticks are out and about. They have been for some time, but it seems every week passes with a new tick-borne disease. So please take care. I'll post some. I know these are nothing new to the Northwest Corner residents, but some reminders about how to look out and take care to minimize illness from a tick. It is also, Earth Day is later in April, which is around the corner, they tell me. But this weekend featured Earth Hour, which was just a reminder, if you have, take an hour and do something positive for the Earth. And I will confess I didn't have a full hour, but I'm going to make up the rest of it this week. But cleaning up the roadside, I notice on my run, as the snow melts, all the things that are popping out from under the snow, and there's quite a lot that needs to be picked up. So there's all kinds of little things that we can do, even if you don't have an hour. Do it for 15 minutes when you have the time. Turn the lights out when you don't need them. Just do a little extra cleanup in our neighborhood. It makes a big difference. With that, I wish you a great rest of your Sunday evening, and see you next week.